maybe I'll find bigger words later. I'm filming in color today, which I think is strange. Yeah, that's the needle drop. You are all actually looking like you do in real life. Yeah, let's go, Corbin. All right, cool. That's enough fucking around. Everybody, Vivian Lee.
I'm Vivian and I'm a banana. I'm Vivian, I'm a local comics artist and illustrator, and most recently I'm also a banana scientist, which means I measure bananas and do experiments with them. And the reason I've been a banana scientist recently is because I really like grocery shopping. And so if you're like in Seattle, I'm sure you have like opinions about which are like the best grocery stores and the worst. And my favorite one, without a doubt, is McPherson's Fruit and Produce out in Beacon Hill. We lost it for a while, but it's back now. I haven't been back yet. But if you haven't been to McPherson's, you might know. You might like to know that there's like lots of good deals there. Like I have a full like cartload of groceries and I'll check out and it's like $20. I'm like, I should eat more fruits and vegetables. But sometimes their deals are too good. For example, in 2021, I bought 40 pounds of bananas for $5. That's insane. And I was like, I'll be like really creative with like cooking and baking and stuff, and I'll make things I've never had before, like a banana split, or bananas foster, or banana cream pie. But then I got home and I quickly realized the folly of that because bananas spoil so quickly. And 40 pounds of bananas is 92 bananas. So it quickly devolved into like, how am I going to move 92 units of bananas in like a week? And so my method was I'm going to call up all my friends and beg them to take some bananas, which opened up a line of questioning for them, which is, why do you have 92 bananas? It was $5, that's crazy. My parents, when I told them this, they were like, oh, of course, makes sense. My friends were like, do you like bananas? No, I don't like bananas. They're gross. They're mushy. But it was a really good deal. And so banana science, really fun, surprisingly fun. I feel like it's kind of like a hobby of making yourself have a problem and trying to solve it with like, while being like under-resourced. And I was like talking to my mom on the phone, and I was like, this weekend I'm going to do some banana science. And she thought that was stupid and a waste of time. She was like, banana science is so easy. Anybody can do banana science. I was like, well, then you should try it. And she sent me this photo like a minute later. It's a wet banana. It's a banana and a thing of coffee that she never uses. I'm like, what is this supposed to be measuring? It measures nothing. This is not science. This is a joke. It's making a joke of my craft. And so how many people think, wait, don't look. Do you think a banana floats or sinks? Floats?
Floats.
Sinks?
Sinks.
It floats! Isn't that surprising? You would never. It's like 50-50, and it makes banana science like extremely difficult question.
Is there a difference if it's peeled or unpeeled?
I think it floats both times, but that was one of my lines of questioning, is like, is the density of the peel different from the inside? But I kind of gave up on banana science. I bought too many bananas, they're all in my freezer. And so, because I've been doing a lot of banana science and telling like every single person I know about it, I've been receiving a lot of banana facts. For example, I didn't know that there are lots of different kinds of bananas, and they vary in like size and color and flavor. That's crazy. They don't all taste like banana. And so if you don't know banana history, which I didn't before, we start off with the Gros Michel back in the 50s. And so it was really good, but then there was a banana disease that came and wiped out all the banana plants. And so we were like, no, our bananas. And so we developed this new strain of bananas called Cavendish, which is immune to that disease, and we moved it to a different country, and now we're just like crossing our fingers and praying like, please don't take away our Cavendish. But in the world, there's lots of different kinds of bananas that are different shapes, and they taste all sorts of ways. And they created this banana, and they're like, it has to be this size, this shape, this flavor, this color, because the Americans like it that way. And I was like, stupid Americans, you should try new bananas. But then I read these banana flavors, I was like, no, just kidding. I'm good with these kinds of bananas. So you've got like Jolly Rancher, watermelon, pineapple, that's fun, that's nice. But you've also got things like musk. I don't want to eat a musky banana, I want to eat a mushy banana. Another surprising banana fact is that they grow, I should have done a 50. Which direction do you think a banana grows? Upwards or downwards? I thought they would grow downwards because that seems easier because of gravity, but they grow upwards. Surprising banana facts, but not the most surprising banana fact. The most surprising banana fact is that banana plants are walking about the earth. They're moving. So my greatest warning, if you only learn one thing today, it's watch out for the banana plants. They could be anywhere, but not in South America because we got them. So I've been experimenting lots of different avenues of banana science. For example, do bananas communicate? Have you ever heard people tell you oh, when you bring your bananas home from the grocery store, you should remove them so that they don't spoil because they release a chemical that tell each other to die faster. And I was I had to question every single thing I ever hear about bananas, and so I decided to test that out. And I was do bananas communicate? I did one test, which is one banana by itself. The second test, which is two bananas connected. And then third test, which is them unconnected but near each other. And you'd think that this one would last the longest, and this one would last the least longest. And I had these sitting in my house for 2 weeks, and I took a picture of them twice a day, in the morning and the night. But the results were surprising. The freshest bananas were the ones that were connected, which means the things that they tell you are a lie. And the second one is the solo banana, which is fine. And the least happy ones were the twos that were next to each other but not connected. And I think that might be because they were on top of my Riso printer drums, so I had to keep on moving them back and forth. But I was doing it really gently. But I think this result is misinformed because I think they're the most fresh because they were hanging as they were meant to do. But maybe if you could hang them upside down, they'd be even fresher. But yeah, the bananas bruise so easily, they bruise like a peach. I feel like they were I was slamming them together, but I was literally just forklifting them over, please don't be mad. So I'm not a very good banana scientist. But the most fun I ever had experimenting with bananas was trying to search for the elusive answer of what the density of a banana was. And as we all know, since we're all scientists, the density is mass over volume. And so mass is a very easy thing to find out. You just stick it on a scale. But then sometimes I'd be I'm going to put the banana in water and then take it out and then put it back on the scale, and it would lose weight, which is very confusing. So who even knows if mass is easy? And the harder thing is volume, because how would you find the volume of the banana? Difficult. Don't listen to my mom. Very hard. One method is you could have lots of different containers. So if you have a bread pan or a big jar, fill it up to the brim with water, measure that weight. Then dunk the banana in, which is why your banana is wet, and use the needle to stick it all the way down because it's trying to float up. And then you take that jar, empty water, and then put it back on the scale, and you measure the difference in the weight. And the reason this will give you the volume is because the density of water is, say, within 1 gram of water per centimeter cubed. Yeah, so that's how you can find out one way of measuring the banana. But there's problems with this, the water tension something, and yeah, I don't know. But there's many more ways. There's more than one way to skin a banana. You can take the integral of a banana. And so you can take a banana, chop it up into a bunch of circles, and then measure the area of each banana circle. And you can kind of calculate the false volume with the thickness of it, and you sum it all together and add it up, and that's equivalent to the approximation. I never thought that I'd be applying calculus in my day-to-day life, so I owe lots of my teachers an apology. But there's other ways. You could also be building a banana out of Legos. You don't need your yellow Legos, any color of Legos would work. You could be trying to make the most lifelike, realistic representation of a banana out of Legos, and then you take that Lego banana and you stick it back in water and measure the volume of it. But just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. As all responsible scientists, you should be questioning the benefit of your creation into the world. And there's definitely more than one way to do banana experiments and finding the density. For example, you could smush the banana out and put it on graph paper and calculate the area that way. You could cut it up into little cubes and build it into a banana cube. You could freeze it, or you could maybe peel it, fill it up with water and freeze it, and then measure that volume. But there's lots of ways to do banana science, and I would say that there's no right way. The only way is having the most fun. But there is definitely one right answer, and that's probably about 0.9 grams per centimeter cubed. This is my method. I only used method 1. This is the answer I got. So if you ever try some banana science and would like to peer review my results, I am at Vivian Likes Fruit on Instagram. That's banana science. Thank you.
Any animals?
My best friends.
Do I stand? Do we sit? I didn't think this all the way through.
Okay. Is everybody visible?
Excellent science.
Can you get eye contact from?
Which one? Which one? That one?
Oh, yes. Hello, thank you, Eric. Thank you for organizing Unpoetry. I love it so much. Thank you all for being here. And I think I'm going to start with some poems from a series that I've been working on. These are all 100-word poems. And just a word or two. How much time do I have?
10 minutes?
10 minutes, okay. So I will talk for 9 minutes about
Yes, like a true poet.
poems. No, just kidding. I was inspired by, I think her name is Kim Littlebear. She has a website that I think is called something like The Hundreds. Something along those lines should get you to the website, but they're all love poems. She really likes the 100-word poem as a form to convey love. And I was struggling to understand a very sudden change in my life, and I was like, maybe if I put it into 100 words, I would understand it better. And I wrote these poems, and I don't know if they helped me, but I do have these poems now, so that's something. I have some company. Okay, so I think I'm gonna read 4 of them, I think, so it's 400 words if you're following along. The series is called A Baker's Dozen of Omens I Ignored. Number 4. Books, 4 years prior, that she organized by color. The first time I entered her bedroom and saw her neat rainbow shelves, all that knowledge arranged according to its cover, I should have known that she who sees books as vehicles for color would desire something other than what I offered in my extended hands. She said she loved the way I hold a book, urgent, eager. The first time I saw her, I forgot everything I'd ever read. I left my books unordered, dog-eared, scribbled in, stacked in small piles like lightning rods. I was waiting for some truth to strike. She wanted order. Number 10, The Devil, 6 months prior. To see what is, I'm not willing. My resistance calcifies when the card I flip is all red flags. I hold, I hesitate. My friend interprets, examine your contracts. I take this to mean state more of the unstated, not completely reconfigure your modes of listening. I thought things would work if I was good, so I sweetly shuffled him back in the deck, his dimensions uniform, his influence equal to 77 other iterations of existence. When I slipped the slim symbol back into unutterance, the bound lover's chain, loose and volitional, clinked against my hands, ringless, like the devil's empty palm lifted. Number 11, my hands, a stiff 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, driving the 3 of us home from lesbian night at the Tiki Bar 2 months prior. You think you know where this is going, but spoiler alert, the end sum is every number other than 3. I didn't look for the end of anything other than the wet pavement unfurling just in time for headlights to strike. I, an anxious driver, my sight limited by my skull bound. I knew the numbers on car wrecks. I knew my own on insurance claims. From lesbian night out to lesbian night in, I drive when they're drunk. With beats still ringing in our ears, lights re-repeating on retinas, I break for after images, both too early and too late. Number 13. Missing. Me. Missing the dreams, the slap, the hand, his, the books, the hair, the figures drawn like secrets on paper. I ignored the absence of some essential something. How to avoid something that isn't there. How to neglect an absent abrasion. I finally see the shape of nothing when the neighbor's house gets broken into, her car stolen by thieves who crammed in her stuff and sped off during Sunday brunch. I imagine when she returned home, 8 weeks later, a German shepherd in tow, what was missing blared out, and yet she went on, in that space, living. So that's... Let's see. I'm going to read... we'll do a little bit of a tonal tonal shift. Okay, this one's really new. I've never read it out loud before, so let's try that. Metaphor depends on memory. Every morning, I make the same matcha mix. Half hot water, half soy milk I blearily pull from the fridge. Tetra Pak protects what's good. Ever unemptiable, final sip always stuck in the box, but I squeeze anyway. I want everything I can get from the measure I thought I had. I'm made of muscle, professional, and memories trigger, maneuver, and groove. Every morning there's trigger, measured maneuver, and obedient groove. Habits hope to hold steady. So these mornings it's the same box, trigger, protect in my hand, what's the measure, good, what's good, always emptying, never empty. Once in the evening, tanked by shatter, I learned to liquidate, to slump limp on the kitchen floor so no man could move me. In that past I studied spontaneous collapse. There's heaviness of a spill and there's leaking, bleeding towards some maximum refuse, but not yet emptied, incomplete expression, like what I say over the phone my uncle holds to my grandmother's ear as she lingers. I drip out words, only old ones. I swish the same sounds around in my mouth, wanting a change that doesn't cost a loss, but the box is built to protect. My hand hasn't learned the shape that results in patient drain. All the good going, so I'm holding the phone in one hand and the milk in the other. It closes in on itself, a cascade of drain that's the wrong shade. Clear, brown liquid leaps out. It's bone broth I'm mixing with my tea. And I can't take it back. The final lurch, intravenous drip, heavier in the added mass. That's what I told you about.
You did.
What do you think?
I like spontaneous collapse sweat. And drains.
Maybe I'll read one more.
Please,
More.
Go on.
They're all really dire.
Let's get dire.
Okay, I'll read one more dire one and then we'll.
Your corpses behind you.
Oh, you're right. Okay. This is really on theme. Okay. On having a biblical name, can you relate? Anybody can relate? Anybody? You look at that. Anybody? We have John. Label that the RN blares out. Already masked and hair done up in surgical cap. Last first, like it's any old item of inventory, and it is, for most, it is. This body with birth date I claim again and again to every nursing assistant armed with computer. She needs to stow my file in its alphabetical glitch. Name my family gave, singular static noun for that which dies and births and dies, foreign to family feast of perceivables. Is loving always like that? Constructing one form for the beloved to get on with it, the living, the filling of forms. Last first, emergency contact, ongoing. What do you claim when you answer to your name? Order of it by design distanced from my nakedness, peeping out the hospital gown. My clothes stuffed in the green plastic bag I'm provided, labeled and still smelling Sharpie with name, birth date, date of procedure. Contents, bejeweled, twice bathed, naked as the day I was mourned for my aberrations from the straight lines of the Lord. My lover sits bedside, the woman who I love. This, here, my only agency, holds the hand not holding the nitrile glove, puffed full of hot water, its grip intended to open up bloodlines, like it or not. Oh no, I lost the page.
Tender moment, that's part of the performance.
What about these people?
I'll read this one. I like it kind of as an abandoned draft, but I feel like they're encouraging me. Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know if it works, but it's a little tale, so there's a plot which I really struggle with as a poet. And I have since been told there are a lot of plot holes. So like the poem was abandoned because there are logistical problems that I don't have the expertise to solve. So the vibes are the point, I guess. If you can solve them for me, please contact. It's called Sheepdog. And there's 3 parts, and you'll kind of know, but the speaker changes for the middle section. Sheepdog. Moonless night in December. I'd met him hours earlier at the ferry terminal dive bar, us, the only 2, huddled in its red-walled tunnel at that early hour, and to his ears I had yoked my unbearable loneliness. Outside, semi-trucks whizzed past relentless, drowning all possibility of silence at the newly redesigned waterfront boardwalk. I'd been depressed for months and the city was not helping. I kept ending up at the park, the bar, the train, the bridge, the ferry, sickened by the syndicated state of things, how utterly I depended on it. He might have sensed how desperate I was for another sort of story, any other texture of pain, and maybe so was he, so wordlessly we moved from our separate booths toward the far corner of the bar. I'd been failing to respond in an interesting way about what I was doing with my life, dealing unconvincingly my most inarticulate obsessions, words, violence, beauty, repair. He looked past me at the only painting in the bar, a large flock of sheep spread wide across a dark green hill, and a small gray blur aggregating into a margin the flock's right edge. And as though picking at a thread from within my own unspeakable instincts said, I have a story then that you may be able to make sense of. I settled into my stool and holding my gaze at the painting, nodded to signal my ready ears. He downed his pour of makers, allowed silence to settle between us, and began. Out on the peninsula, 3 miles off the 101, behind a black wrought iron gate, began my father's farm. Those fields marked for me by a string of boyhoods, father, uncle, brother, unfurled across landscape and soft rolling hills of rain-fed grasses. I have lost now the stubborn scent of soil which followed me everywhere then, but still some mornings I wake up picking at my nails, finding no dirt lodged behind them any longer. Mornings when I was a boy, I would wake to the whistle my father used to train his sheepdogs. Most days I'd join him by his side, hands clutching the seam of his parka while he taught the dog a productive language of violence. In the manner of an old Scotch shepherd, he'd whistle a command, and the dog would launch its precise boomerang across the field, carving into its open expanse grid lines of protective threat. Between awe and fear, I learned to read in the farm this complex choreography of signals. My father, in his mud-worn overalls, launching his will across the land and the vector of the dog's run. Sheep turned to flock by fear the fanged dog demanded, my child's body quaking beside my father's. I grew up and grew away, choosing the city's careless grid lines over the closely scaped geography of the farm. It was in those early days after I had left that the tragedy unspooled. My father was now older, his voice raspier, time corroded. It was a day as any other. He sat by the far edge of a high pasture, slowly unpacking the lunch pail my mother must have packed as the sheep dispersed, grazed soundlessly down the hillside. This, the last memory of pasture he clutches to now. He remembers calling out to the dog to gather the stray closer off from the edge. He remembers his voice failing the second syllable, and the dog's split look before it launched its scrambled grammar on the flock and in a swift run herded 200 sheep off the cliffside. An unassimilable silence settled in the bar after his voice broke at this, his story's sharpest edge. Hours later, after the bar, after the ferry we were both on, after I had fallen too far behind to follow his tail lights, driving alone along the narrow through roads in Beaver Valley, straining into the limited apertures carved by my veering headlights, I wondered why he had told me, what sort of witness he had desired. Quietly then I pulled off into one of the fenceless fields and watched the dark grow around itself, night erasing the edges on everything, blinding all choreography, save for the violence that architects all design.
Wow.
I haven't read that in some years. It was weird. Someone else wrote it. I'll read a couple more. I feel like I was going to read a few poems and I entered this space and I felt visible pile. Pull both knife and suture, call out by name all my hungers, say overcome, overcome, over and over. By the door I dig garden beds in which I plant several futures, hold to watch them grow. I thresh urgency, for fear of entering I do not enter. The urgency swells around my ankles. I describe and I distract, say I until certain of its contours. Wayside my animal gut still rumbles, wayside my unshut skin papering, wayside times turning, my hair taking root in matted branches, sanctuary, sanctuary. An excerpt from Li Youngli's poem, The City in Which I Love You. If I feel the night move to disclosure or crescendo, it's only because I'm famished for meaning. The night merely dissolves. 3. Night by obliterate night, we wade further into our darkened territory. In erasure's relief congregates our quiet constituency. No young maid comes running with perfumed bathwater. No whisper of the young, but the bats litter yowling. The dog's unseeing eye flutters. Still from our multiple abandonments to family a warm cave. Must and dust of my suspended dreaming, by leaf and wing we were stitched to one beast and flung into our shadowed lean. Watched over by no father, son, or holy debt, wrap our animal breath around each other.
Old Wednesday. I go out for a walk, I break up with my boyfriend, I come home. On the floor of the living room, Mom lays out the instruments for an exorcism, mixing bowl, beach towel, canola oil. I sit on the couch and Mom puts the bowl in my lap. We start with prayer. Mom says, close your eyes, and I do, or I do not. If I do not, it is because the demon is looking out through my head and not me. The name of the demon is first daughter to date outside the faith. Mom says, cough into the bowl, and I cough. For every cough, Mom says, a demon can come out, but vomit is better. Vomit is more demons than cough. I hate vomit, so I keep coughing. Mom says, a burp is also a demon, but I can't make myself burp on command, and neither can the demon. The name of the demon is tried to lose her virginity at an airport motel, and it sucked. Mom grabs the oil. I give up the couch and sit on the floor above the towel below the bottle of canola. Olive oil is holier than canola oil, but olive oil is also expensive. Inside our pantry are 6 old potatoes, a box of Raisin Bran, garlic croutons, baking soda, dog food. Who has money for olive oil except Dad before the recession? Mom pours half of the canola oil on the top of my head, and some of it runs into the bowl and some of it down my back into the towel. The oil mixes with the grease from my hair and dirt particles on my face. Mom commands the demon to exit through my mouth. The name of the demon is never even did mouth stuff until she was 22 anyway. Mom says, in Jesus' name, come out, and the mouth part is just implied. A little bit of oil falls from my ears, but I am barely moving, so it must be the demon. Mom says, I release you in Jesus' name, and more oil drips into the bowl, but I know it is not a miracle. I just had an itch, or maybe the demon did. Now Mom gets impatient, Dad gets carpet cleaner, I get oil in my eyes. I drip demon oil on the floor, on the stairs, all the way to the shower. In the shower, the name of the demon is, I bet he hasn't blocked your number yet, and I hear a flight to California is pretty cheap these days. After the shower, Mom looks in my eyes, and either me or the demon is looking out. If me, Mom says, Jesus forgives you, and means it. If the demon, she is lying. Of course, we both know there is no such thing as forgiveness, only atonement, only the devil, or the absence of him. Thunder snail. When Paul woke up, he said he had a foolproof way to dominate professional snail racing. All we needed was some ketamine. Naturally, neither of us had a ketamine guy, or snail guy, so our chances were looking slim from the start. Paul was sure we could pinch a couple of snails from the pet store or maybe the lawn if it rained hard enough, but we would need a real thoroughbred, a veteran of the track. On the internet, it said the world record was 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which was extremely fast in snail time and hadn't been beaten in 29 years. Hence, the ketamine, Paul said, and wouldn't say anything more about it. On my lunch break, I broached the subject with Sweaty Tim, who said he could make it happen for the right price. Cash, or something as good as cash, like Paul's new 6-quart stainless steel air fryer toaster oven combo. I knew Paul would be mad, but Sweaty Tim was serious about the air fryer, almost as serious as we were about coaching a world champion snail racer, so I took the deal. When I got home, Paul was painting the back of a garden snail with Insta-Dry Peachy Breeze nail polish. To add pizzazz, Paul said, which was important for self-esteem and also performance. We placed the snail on the edge of a dish towel and let it run a few test laps, although it got tripped up by a crumb, and we couldn't say we had a real winner on our hands with any degree of certainty. Of course, the whole thing really fell to pieces when Paul tried to feed ketamine to the snail. "We can't do that," I said, and Paul said, "We have to, it excites them." When I looked closer, the snail did look more excited than before, but it died pretty soon after that, so I suppose it didn't matter much in the end. This last poem is called Billie Eilish. You wake up at home. The house is almost pitch black. You are in the bedroom. Something is wrong. Hiding nearby is a witch with a bulbous eye and a warty nose. This has happened before. You know you will find her in the closet or behind the shower curtain. You open the closet door first. You wake up at home. The house is the furred lining of a mouth. You are in the bedroom. Something is wrong. Hiding nearby is a witch with a shapeless body and 3 teeth. This has happened before. You know you will find her standing in your father's porcelain bathtub. You reach for the light. You wake up at home. The house is a single spider leg. You are in the bedroom. Something is wrong. Hiding nearby is a witch shaped like a chilled spine. This has happened before. You know you will find her before she finds you. Behind you, the darkness begins to move like a hunted animal. You wake up at home. The house is an idea of a house. You do not know where you are. Something is wrong. Hiding nearby is a mother who has become a witch. This has happened before. You walk into the idea of another house, another mother. The light at your back is a knife. Thanks.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Yep.
Thank y'all for coming tonight. Thank you, Eric, for letting us do this. And then thank you, Connie, for doing this with me. I've never done anything performance before, so I'm super nervous. And you're excited. This is not what we were going to do originally. But it's going to be good. Little ants all lined up on Denny Way, all angry, impatient, and running late for work. Sitting alone in the stomach of some metal monster, fueling up the body, heavily leaded and poisoned. Alone, apart, moving as one. You are pretty sure you are driving the car, but you know for a fact there is a demon riding shotgun with no seatbelts. Little bits of flesh pull away from the skin, but it's rude to comment on the skin's skinnings, so you say nothing and keep your eyes on the road. Stay focused. There's bile flooding the roof of your mouth, and everyone is honking and cheering for you to turn left into oncoming traffic. The demon drools and oozes and reeks of amputation and blood. Epidermis boiled off, solid, sludge, liquid. Subcutaneous blistered and pus. It doesn't matter how much Centel 33 you pour over it. The smell's never coming out of the poorly upholstered seat. You ask the demon what it wants. You're sure this is not normal. But it's everyone else who answers. Voice all shot, lips peeled back, with their hemorrhaging magic 8-ball eyes. Yes, no, ask again. Cold sweat and 100-degree heat, each face numb, turns to you. You move together, and they all say, this is normal. This is normal. This is normal. This is normal. It only doesn't feel normal because it is happening to you. Change. every cousin taken by violence, every friend whose life's cut short. You stopped doing it after 8 months because Lake Washington became the Arboretum. 8 months after and the sorrow doesn't budge. Every color on the color wheel has turned the same. Joy is absent, but it is uncouth to feel this much for so long. The gaze, everyone starts to look at you from the whites of their eyes. The gaze is so far from the side, you suspect they might have eyes as ears, earballs, if you will, listening and watching while you drool your grief all over you in public, over oysters and skin contact wine. Someone suggests letting it rest, but silencing grief only gives it weight. So it hardens your tongue till it's stone. Stone so heavy you can't get out of bed in the morning without a bump and a little ketamine and maybe a little tequila and then maybe one more little tiny bump. At 3:47 a.m., you decide to saw off your stone grief tongue. At first, you feel lighter until a slab sinks down into the center of the earth, raising the planet's temperature exactly 5.4 degrees, adding global warming onto the long list of things you are directly responsible for. Geez, you drool and shudder into the crater you created, all violent sobs and arm gestures. What more could the dirt possibly want from you that it hasn't already taken? You want to soften again, but you can't. You want this to end or for winter to be over, but it's not. You want to no longer be this hungry, walking, open wound, and you want to be surrounded by supportive, beating hearts. But you can't get your own blood pumping enough, and you can't get your flesh to move. Someone DMs you saying, "You think too little and feel too much," which is rude but not entirely untrue. Through a peel-pressed, perfect smile, you respond that you actually think far too little, but feel nothing at all. Tell me, Angel Menrelic 69, how does one feel? Tell me, DJ having sex, how does one feel? Tell me, RJ abroad, how does one feel? What am I doing wrong? How do I feel and think more? Constant torment might be sounding the alarm, but joy is in a state of emergency. So shake off those glitter tears, baby. We're in the blue phase. Take everything dead and find release. It might seem impossible to move, but you will die if you stay here in this state. Let your skin fall away, eyes glazing over now. We already contain as much reality as possible. Make room for something that makes your time here worth it. That we might be dazed or stunned in the ether, but only for a moment, like spinning around and round until you faint, like celestial boulders spinning around the sun, going on forever and ever, for always and always, smoldering and crushing at the center of things, glowing without burning each other up, finding love as a smoggy and disruptive protein. We might find giving a fuck as liberation, feeling as freedom. This is my eternal truth. I'll be here and will not let you go into that unknown space alone. We exist on the edge of what is possible, out here with the edge riders, the addicts, the teenagers who can't go home, the sex work people and the transient people and the people in transition, the people not bleached to the color of cocaine, people who are too neurodivergent or maybe too crazy to hold a desk job, the people too sick to be important to capitalism, or whose bodies or hearts are too sensitive, and the faggots and the sluts and the dancers and the artists and the people who don't serve the West. So when the dirt finally gets me, and I begin to blend with everyone I've ever loved, when the sun burns me up and the moon needs my shadow, when they look lovingly at me and say, "Did you ever figure out how to shake that demon? Tell me, baby, did you ever get free?" I'll nod my head, turn corners of my mouth up, before becoming the earth, the only home any of us ever know, the home each of us belongs to. Hold fast. 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 Hold fast.